Alright guys, welcome back. Survival Living here. So, making sure my microphone is on because I just filmed this and I'm still sick and I realized that my microphone was laying on the floor. It fell off my chest. Great. Anyway guys, today's video I want to discuss one of Canadian Prepper's new video series. The last two videos he's been covering EMPs, how they can happen, grid down here in America, the delivery systems, the effects, things like that we're going to be facing. If you've been here with this channel for a while, you guys know I am a huge supporter of Nate, there, a Canadian Prepper. I've been watching his videos long before I became a prepper here on YouTube. All right, he was one of my go-to guys when I was learning how to do the right, correct things for prepping, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. So he actually helped inspire me to be the prepper I am now. With this, guys, I'm not going to get too much into the EMP delivery system. I will pop up a photo for you. This is Jonathan Hollerman. He's got his own website, griddownconsulting.com. This guy's got a resume freaking longer than my arm. He's an expert in this field. He did a white paper called Grid Down, Death of a Nation. That website there, it will be linked in the description. It's a free download. It's like a 128-page white paper going over the effects of starvation due to EMPs and stuff. Yeah. This video today, guys, to help explain a lot of things I'm seeing here online as a YouTuber. I've been on here for a little over 4 years now, and I read a lot of comments that are half-baked or complete misinformation that will get people killed. All right, so one of the things I want to go ahead and discuss, it's called the Minnesota Starvation Experiment. All right, guys, this was a test that was done to show the effects of starvation in the human body. Yeah, it was a trial. I think it was like a year long. Definitely check it out, because this is one of the things I'm going to be talking about here today, is because I see comments all the time. You need to train your body to operate on 900 calories a day to survive SHTF.
A bullshit, a bullshit, a bullshit, a bullshit.
I can't help myself. I freaking love that kid right there. I mean, I saw that the other day and I just had to start including some of my videos. All right, this is going to get you killed at many different levels. One being that you can't fight because you're malnutritioned. Two, you're not going to be able to do the physical activities that you need to do to stay alive. All right, so when I'm speaking to everyone here, I'm speaking from experience. Okay, I'm the guy that lived out of his backpack for a year and a half, riding freight trains and surviving off the land. Yeah, constantly moving. I know how difficult it is. It is a dangerous situation. I have seen what people do that have nothing and they're away from the laws of society, because on the tracks there's this own society there, their own rules. They don't go to the police. They handle things themselves. I have seen people jump others, kill others for a backpack and the possibilities what might be in that backpack. To think that these things are not going to happen, during a grid down situation of lawlessness, that you're just going to safely walk amongst the masses because you are gray manning it out, because you're wearing oversized clothes that make you look like you're starving, and everyone's going to think that you're starving because you have baggy clothes, so they're just going to pass you by. This is the most dangerous planning I've ever heard. You need to be proactive. You need to be able to fuel your body and prepare for when masses come to your house. You need to have a backup plan on getting out. When I speak of bug out plans, I'm not talking about go live out in the woods for the next 20 years living off deer and squirrel. A bug out plan, and when I teach outdoor survival, is to keep you alive when you've had to leave your home to get to another location. The woods, Mother Nature is unforgiving. It will kill you. It will kill you within a day. Yeah, it'll kill you in a matter of hours in the right temperature and weather elements. This is what I teach outdoor survival. When I talk about bugging out, I'm not talking about go live out in the woods for the next 20 years. The misconception I see here a lot, and the reason I can say this is because I am an avid hunter. I've hunted my whole life since I was a kid. Here on the internet, I will just go hunt my deer. I will hunt my squirrels. I have deer all over my property for now. For now. What happens when everybody's hunting? Because anybody that's an avid outdoorsman, avid hunter, they know all animals know you're there. Yeah. You can, most hunters today, they bait up areas. You get an animal in a routine, they always come for food. And then they sit up, wait, it's called food plots. They sit there and wait for them. Then, take them out. The great white hunter. Me, I learned how to stalk hunt. And it's stand still. Now, I did learn how to stand still in certain locations for squirrel hunting. Find a good acorn tree and just sit and wait. All right, they'll come running. They're pretty dumb. But the population gets quickly thinned out, and also animals learn what's going on. They move. So the idea of you're just going to hunt and fish, yes, that does help supplement your food, but the world population is so massive now, and the amount of wild animals that are out there to be hunting is not the same. This was back, 1800s, 1700s. People were able to go out and feed their families, but the world population, the population in America, was not as large as it is now. The resources as far as fresh meat and stuff like that out in the woods that you go hunt is not there to sustain multiple millions of lives. You'll get thinned out quick. One of the things that during the interview I was watching, they were talking about the lone wolf. I believe it was Jonathan. They were talking about the lone wolf prepper, the mentality that, just hunting by yourself out in the woods. You're going to have to start a fire sometime, boil water, cook food, stay warm. Someone's going to see that. And they will. They will. All right? Somebody is eventually going to see that. But he also made a great point of you walking down the trails, hunting, being stealthy, whatever, and some yahoo sitting up in a tree stand. You're exhausted, you're hungry, you're tired, and I can speak on this because I've been there just walking, and you cannot keep your mind focused on what's going on because you haven't eaten in days. And he's just sitting there watching you, but you got a backpack. He's hungry too. Down. Just for the possibility of what might be in that backpack. Now, I do apologize for the background noises. I have pretty windy conditions today, and it's slinging one of the doors open out here in the studio. Yeah, I gotta lock it down. But I want people to realize that lone wolf is not the end-all be-all only way to prepare. Is there times and scenarios that you can lone wolf things out? Absolutely. Is there times and scenarios that gray man prepping is some of the best ideas? Yes. There is not one set rule in preparedness. You need to be able to evolve, adapt, and overcome every situation as much as possible. And the only way to do that is to be training in it. Okay? Practicality, actually using the application, doing this stuff, not just watching assholes like me on YouTube. You got to get out there and train. Okay? When it comes to gray man prepping, one of the first rules, of course, is don't talk about prepping. Well, I'm a YouTuber. I've been able to help a lot of people, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me thanking me for encouraging them to get into prepping, and I was actually one of the ones that actually got them into prepping. That's awesome. I'm glad you took the step in preparing yourself and your family for what's coming. Now, am I a target? Yeah, I will be. I know I will be. It's one of the reasons that I built a group. I always build groups in my area. Strength in numbers. But in the interview with their Canadian prepper and Jonathan there, they were talking about groups, and they're advocate for groups. The other guy was, but he made a great point. If you cannot feed your group within a few weeks of no food, the rules went out the window. People will turn on each other, and this is actually true. I've seen people fight over alcohol, women, drugs, food, better gear out on the train tracks. I'm not talking about knife bites, bloody rocks. I mean, bludgeoning with rocks. I've seen these things. I've been there. All because society's not there to hold them accountable. Yeah, you can make someone disappear quick on the train tracks. It's an accident. Seen a lot of horrors out there during my travels. I've seen the evil of man. When I say man, I mean mankind. I've seen where they've used women to lure people into areas while others laid in wait for them to come in. Abandoned what we call squat houses. Someplace just to get out of the weather. Run into a hot piece. They got a place. Follow them back. Robbed, murdered. It happens. People use anything to lure in people, take their stuff, take a life. When there's not society overhead watching, when there's no accountability, if they think that they can get away from it. And that's the thing, out there, it's a different world. Because you've been doing it day in, day out, you pretty much forgot about society on the outside. You're in a completely different mindset in society out there. It's a survival way. And it's deadly. It's dangerous. So when I go back to the lone wolves, you have to sleep some point in time. Train camps and things like that, no, you don't sleep near those. You slip off, you walk miles if you have to, even if you're dead tired. Find you a nook and cranny somewhere. You're not putting up a tent. You're not building a shelter. You're just trying to find some overhanging rock or something to kind of crave yourself in and hope that if anybody does follow you, trying to look for you while you're finally able to sleep because you haven't slept in 3 days, that they don't see you. Because they happen to see your shoes are not duct taped together. And they need a new pair of shoes. They ain't bullshitting you. Very dangerous. When people are starving to death, when they have children that are starving, you don't think that they're not going to come looking. One of the biggest things I see here, one of the biggest comments I read is, well, when they come to my door, I meet them with buckshots or this or that. What do you think they're doing? Your preparedness plan is based off of mindless people, excuse the words, zombies walking around, I want your food, we're going to kill you. They're not going to do that. If that's happening, that's a decoy. Check your back door. Don't look out that window, though, because it could be somebody sitting off 100 yards in the bush, got a bead on that window, waiting for you to kind of look out. Done. Could have been watching your house for weeks on end, learning your routine. You know, you got a garden. You got to get out there and prune the garden. That's prune the flowers. Water it. Pick up vegetables, livestock, feed it. If you're by yourself and you're carrying feed, good luck to be covering what you need to be covering and also deal with that at the same time. And so another reason why I always say groups are great. There's faults in groups. There's a lot of division happens in groups because people don't get their way or they feel like they're being left out and somebody else is doing better than them. A democracy in groups is about the best way to go. I know some people say a dictatorship is. Every group I've ever been a part of that's been a dictatorship has always fallen apart. But you do you. That's just my experience at it. With groups, trust is a huge issue. Can you really trust these people? Do you know them? When it comes to group, they have to be an extended part of your family. You do everything together. You learn. It's not just, I mean, you can have a mutual assistant groups that, yeah, when something happens, you can come to my house, I come to your house, but you don't know them. You don't know what's going on. You have to be involved with these people. You have to really know them, but then do you really know them when it comes down to it? If everything's going great in groups and you got food, water, power, yeah, things will go good. But what happens when one of those things disappears? There's no water in the area. The water's contaminated. You can't filter it out because whatever contaminant's in there. Now what? That group's going to fall apart. It just is. with EMPs, guys, coronal mass ejections, hacker attacks, you need to have as much self-reliance as possible. You really do. Off the grid, but even that, we are still reliant on society in so many ways. You know, I pushed so hard and tried my best to be as self-reliant as possible, but the way society is set up, you still need society a lot, all right? Money for fuel, food, medical supplies, power equipment, all right? Yeah, I live off grid, but I know my battery banks have about a 7 to 10 year shelf life, and then that's about it. So if everything happened right now and my battery banks were completely brand new, I know I can make it 7 years with power. But what happens after the 7 years? Now I'm going to be using and operating wood stoves. I'll be out of propane within 7 years. I'd guarantee you that for our stove cooking. Now we have wood stoves and things like that. But when you're cooking outdoors, cooking inside, using wood stoves, people notice. Now, after 7 years after the EMP, is there going to be that much of a population to be a threat to you and your wood stove cooking? Well, the population number is going to dwindle down massively within the first year. Some say up to 90% of people in America will be dead within a year. It's a possibility. It really is, because we are so intertwined with delivery system for food, water, medicine, power, medical. It's all intertwined. When that's broken, we're so reliant on it. Society is. Now, if you take offense to that, my apologies, but not really. Now, if you're self-sufficient right now, obviously you don't need to hear this. I try to be as much self-sufficient as possible. The fact is, it's going to be a rough road. It's not going to be some fantasy world full of rainbows and unicorn farts. It's going to be hard. Dear Lord, it's going to be hard. I don't wish it at all. I try to prepare for it as much as possible. We are always striving for a grid down scenario preparedness. But the horrors, the destruction, the chaos, the shortages, it's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect me too. It's going to be hard. A lot of people are going to die from this. One of the reasons I always say an EMP is probably one of the biggest things, the biggest threats to America, is because you're able to take out a country before going to war. America likes to jump on board about every conflict with their own special interests. That's why they're doing it. Underneath the guise of humanitarian aid, or this is right, this is wrong. There's always, you know, I did a video yesterday about the federal government. It's basically a money-making machine. That's all it is. We are always sticking our nose in things. Always sending the military in. Well, if you take out the power in America for 2 years, longer, they don't have the ability to fight. They don't have the ability to go overseas and send munitions. Military. You know, the very first video the Canadian Prepper did on the series, his guest was talking about how the U.S. military, you know, the movies and stuff show the military showing up, FEMA and stuff, giving out food, water, all this stuff. That's because there is a society in place. There's tractor trailers can come in, manufacturing still going on. In EMP, there is nothing moving. The military has food brought into base. All right, they don't produce their own stuff there. Do they have stockpiles of stuff? Yes, but that's for them. If everything like that happens, they're going to be kind of locking down. Their power grid, I believe he said most of military bases are on a civilian power grid, or a large percentage. Sure, they have diesel, backup generators, stuff like that, but when nothing's moving, then what? To think that the U.S. government is going to be coming in and saving the day if America gets hit by an EMP, it knocks out the grids, stops everything. That's never going to happen. Our country's too big. There's not enough resources or agencies to come out and take care of people. There's not. coming back to taking care of people. As a train rider, I was in Colton, California, right there in San Bernardino, big train yard out there, and Union Pacific. And I was catching ground squirrels, setting up snares. I was underneath the Rancho Bridge. I could see the holes. Been watching for days. I was getting hungry, waiting on a train. So I put up snare wires, waiting for them. I was catching ground squirrels, eating them. Actually, really good food. Same with nutrient. Got a bunch of those in Oregon. But I had a guy, he was a train rider, older guy, come up and say, you know, us out here, train riders, when the world goes to shit, people are going to come to us for how to survive. I took a step back because I was like the only train rider known in the area at the time that hunted, fished, built my shelters, kept clean. And I look at everybody else just laying in the dirt with their liquor bottles and crack rocks and whatever. Cardboard, they flip cardboard, spare a buck, you know, stuff like that. But people are going to come to them to survive. And I remember looking at him and going, if society stopped, you guys would be the first to die. The reason I say this is because they were reliant on churches for food and clothing. They're relying on food pantries, food and clothing. They're relying on the generosity of people for cash to buy food, liquor, cigarettes, new sleeping bags, tents. During an EMP, when everybody's screwed, there's not going to be dumpsters to go to get food, because everybody's going to be at those dumpsters trying to scrounge up whatever they can eat off of. No one's going to go to the homeless population, the train rider population, to go learn the old ways, because those were not the old ways. The train riders back in the day, the hobos, were going from town to town and look for work. That was a real hobo. Today's hobos, train riders, are running around posting up pictures on Instagrams. We call them trust fund babies. They have mom and daddy's credit card, and they're riding around for a couple months before they go to college, you know, to do something rebellious. But anytime something major happens, and I've seen this with my own eyes out there, they get on their cell phone and call mom and daddy. Yeah, I'm at such and such location. I have this problem. I need you to come pick me up. I didn't have that. When I fractured my jaw multiple places, I had to walk and find a hospital that would see me, trying to stay alive when they basically kick you out after taking care of you, and live off the land. I didn't have nobody watching me. I had a dog with me. It was a damn good dog. He'd let me know if something was around. That's what, and he was well trained. I trained him very well. He would not make a sound. He'd let me know something was going on. You got to sleep. You medicated up because you got broke bones, cracked ribs. Yeah. It's going to be bad, guys. I know this was a long video. I just wanted to give you a thought process here. Again, if you have not been over the Canadian Prepper and watched those last two videos, I encourage you to do so. Link again is in the description for Jonathan's website. There's a free download for that that report on starvation. Definitely recommend reading it. Again, it's like 128 pages. Definitely check it out, guys. All right. Please keep prepping. Get food put back. You've got to have seeds. You've got to have water filtration. You have to have water storage. You have to have medicine. You have a way of defending your home and your supplies. But you also have to have a plan on leaving if necessary. And then you're going to need training to survive that trip to a safer location. Or you could be like everybody else that likes to comment on all my videos and say, I would rather die. Me, I value my life. I value my family's life. I value my group's life. So we train. Does it mean that we are going to survive? I have no idea. People slip up all the time. There's always somebody better. And then again, maybe just exhausted from food fatigue, lack of sleep, and not food fatigue, lack of food, lack of sleep, I'm a big person on, I don't believe in food fatigue, because when I got electrocuted back in '06, I lost 80% of my taste buds taste. So me eating food is all texture, and I don't get tired or food fatigue. It just tastes like nothingness to me. And look at that, I didn't die. Some of the shit I read on YouTube. All right, guys, appreciate you hanging out with me. Just stay at it. Speak to y'all later.